By now, it's pretty clear that Universe 7 has some pretty strong fighters, and each has achieved power through different means, whether it be through battle, through certain types of training, or ancient godly rituals. That last one's obviously not too common. But no matter what method anyone's using to gain their power, there's one big thing in Dragon Ball that drives the speed at which they grow. Something that we've seen a lot more of in Super too. That being each fighter's individual potential. For some it's a big part of their character, and for some it just kind of appears out of nowhere. But it's hard to ignore Dragon Ball's big focus on this now. Even with the Tournament of Power, one of the big themes is breaking through limits. And since everyone has their own different levels of potential, that kind of plays into that same idea. And some fighters clearly have way more latent potential than others. But who in Universe 7 has the most potential to grow? Of course, there are some obvious picks, but I think it's worth noting that a lot of Universe 7's fighters show amazing growth potential. It's not just a select group of them, and today we're going to go through everyone with noteworthy levels of potential and seeing which one actually might have the most. Not just that, we're going to see who has more potential than most people realize, whether it's due to them being a great fighter, their genetics, or some other factor. Who has the potential to grow strongest, or who has the potential to grow fastest? Let's jump into it. First, it would be kind of weird to start this video without mentioning Goku. He's the main character after all, and he does have a great amount of potential of his own. We might not constantly see people discuss his latent abilities, but it really is worth noting how quickly Goku grows. Goku has shown exponential growth in most arcs. The Tournament of Power is a great example. In under an hour, he grows multiple times stronger than he was before, even without considering the new forms that he got too. His strength and base alone showed a notable increase just from that battle. And this pretty much goes for every arc that he's in. It's not just his physical growth either, but also his technical growth. Goku might not really be that book smart, but he's definitely a genius when it comes to battle IQ. And he's shown to be a prodigy multiple times, being able to copy techniques basically after seeing them one time only, and mastering different abilities quicker than anybody else. Whether it's a key attack like a Kamehameha, or growing the power of a certain form, the rate at which he grows in terms of technique is insane. Similar to that, there is Vegeta, and a lot of the same stuff I said about Goku applies to him. Vegeta was born advantaged too, and that contributed a lot to his strength at first, but even now we can see that he's still some sort of prodigy. He's quick to learn, quick to grow, and is an amazing fighter in his own right too. For example, consider how quickly he unlocked Ultra Ego, which took way less time for him to train for than Goku for Ultra Instinct, for example. And now he's no longer playing second fiddle either. He's grown immensely in power too. Both are prime examples of how fast Saiyans can grow, and are probably the best examples in the history of Saiyans for that. At least when we're talking about Universe 7 Saiyans. I don't know what the Universe 6 Saiyans are eating to grow that quickly. But hey, Goku and Vegeta are standouts in their own universe at least. But that's when it comes to pure Saiyans. Obviously I'm not going to go through this video without discussing Gohan either. Ever since Gohan was introduced, it's been made apparent that hybrid Saiyans have great potential, having the ability to grow far quicker than most other fighters, including other Saiyans. And it's not something that's been forgotten either. Even to this day we still see that being discussed. For example, both in the manga and the anime, Vegeta does state that Gohan has the greatest potential of any of them. So even when he's slacking off, he's noted to have that great power locked away. And that's really his only issue, the fact that he does slack off sometimes. But even so, he's always able to reawaken that power and go far beyond his previous limits. Another obvious example is Frieza. He's described as a mutant and that's what gives him his great power. Also, he's unique in the sense that he's the only person of his species in the series right now, at least when it comes to Universe 7. Within only a few months of training, he was able to catch up to Super Saiyan Blues. No godly ki required. And not just that, while he was in Hell, mental training was enough for his golden form to keep up with everyone else later on too. He couldn't even physically move. And obviously after 10 years of training, he got his black form and was able to one-shot Goku and Vegeta with their newest forms. Although it remains to be seen how strong he is, and it's worth noting that his rate of growth might have slowed because 10 years seems like a while of training for him to only be able to one-shot people. Like with how crazy his growth was before, you'd expect 10 years to be enough for him to, well, pretty much wipe out everyone and everything in existence. One-shotting those two seems like the bare minimum of what he should be able to do. So who knows if his potential has diminishing returns. But regardless if his growth slowed down or not, the rate at which he grows stronger is still pretty nuts. As for one more obvious example, there's Broly. Also unique in his own right, shown to be different from other Saiyans starting at birth, with a highly uncontrollable and explosive power. One interesting thing to note is that even at birth, his power level was greater than pretty much every other Saiyan out there. While his age was in the single digits, his power level exceeded 5 digits at points. And it was made very apparent that he's able to grow during battle too, pretty quickly in fact. Within pretty much a single continuous battle, he went from nearly being beaten by base Vegeta to surpassing Super Saiyan Gogeta, which I don't need to tell you is a pretty huge gap in power. But there's also some less obvious examples in Universe 7. Let's start with Piccolo. He's actually a weird case, but from what we've seen, he has a great amount of potential locked away too. This was made apparent in Superhero because when he got his potential unlocked, as well as getting something extra from Shenron, the two forms he got gave him a great increase in power. Although he is a bit of a weird case because he trains more than any other character, and he's always been at a weird spot in terms of strength. Except for the 2 times he fused, he's basically always below the Saiyans but above all the humans. But maybe now with what Superhero confirmed, Piccolo can grow faster than what we previously expected. There was probably just never a good opportunity to show it, which I think is weird because he literally does train more than everyone, Goku and Vegeta included. Even they've had time off from training, but Piccolo just constantly does that. This dude has no job, family, or hobbies, just training. so it's weird that we've barely heard anything about his latent potential until now, with a few exceptions from previous arcs. There's also Majin Buu. The thing is, we really haven't seen much of him, so it's kinda hard to judge, but he's worth noting because of how quickly he grew before the Tournament of Power and in the Moro arc. Before the tournament, he didn't have a lot of time to train, but he was still able to contend with base Goku in a fight, which might not sound that impressive on the surface, but you have to consider how strong base Goku is at that point. It doesn't seem like Buu did any training up until then, so within that short time frame, he made a pretty big jump in power. Also in the Moro arc, it was explained that some of his potential was awakened when he got his memories back from the Grand Supreme Kai. Whether or not this will come into play later, that remains to be seen. And despite him not being used much recently, at least we are reminded that he does have some great power locked away. One weird mention is Android 17. His growth was so absurd that it's basically a joke in the community now. Pretty much all he's been doing is fighting poachers, and that was somehow able to get him to Super Saiyan Blue Goku level. And whether or not you think it's stupid, I'm not defending it, but that's just how it is. It's definitely attributed to him being an android. But still, it's pretty crazy to see how those upgrades were able to make him get that much potential. He clearly grows way more than any other normal human. Maybe the same applies to 18 too, but we haven't really seen too much of her to really say. Although in the Moro arc, she did seem a little bit closer to 17's level in terms of strength, so it could be reasonable to assume that. Again, I know the power scaling is kind of weird, and I'm not trying to defend or explain away anything, just saying that it's there and it's definitely something to keep in mind. There's Goten and Trunks too, but it's kind of a weird case for them because they've been stated to have great potential, and it has shown at some points too. They got Super Saiyan at a really young age, with Goten being the youngest to ever get Super Saiyan, really without any serious training either. But after the Buu saga, it's like they're just kind of forgotten about. They do fight and train somewhat consistently. They went Super Saiyan at a young age, and we got to see that even as Gotenks, they're able to get Super Saiyan 3 with very little effort. But even at this point, we still don't know if they have Super Saiyan 2 or not, which you'd definitely expect by now. They only ever fight in Super Saiyan. It's a very strange case because they've been explained to have great potential, but we don't really get to see it. The writing kinda underestimates their abilities in my opinion, and it would definitely be better if they showed us rather than just flat out tell us. It's even weirder too when you consider future Trunks' case. The thing is, we know he grew up in a bad environment, and he and Gohan didn't get to grow to their fullest because otherwise future Gohan would be leagues stronger than anyone else. Their situation probably led to them growing less quickly. But future Trunks clearly has some great potential too. He grew pretty quickly during the Goku Black arc, and even prior to the events of that arc, he was training really well under the Supreme Kai, seemingly having power and potential similar to that of Gohan's during the Buu saga, since he was able to pull off all the training there and pulling the Z-Sword too, which is even crazier when you consider the fact that he didn't have Super Saiyan 2 until after the training. But back to the Goku Black arc, he grew exponentially there, also instinctively even using a Spirit Bomb. And regardless of your opinions on Super Saiyan Rage or the Spirit Sword, the fact that he was able to summon that much power both those times, it's really a testament to how quickly he adapts and grows. It would have been interesting to see if he got the ultimate ritual done on him as well, but he never got the opportunity. Although, who knows how powerful he truly could get. I think it's important to bring him up because he's kinda underestimated sometimes. His situation definitely dampened his growth a bit, but if he was given a life like present Gohan's for example, who knows what level he could have grown to. As one last honorable mention, there's also Granolah. Definitely not the greatest amount of potential, but I do want to mention him because I know people might bring him up. He had the potential to be the strongest in the universe. That was the whole point of his wish. And he even has a limited ability to grow during battle too. But it seems like his growth was really slow because he needed to compress his entire life for that, which is even crazier when you consider the fact that Cerealians live up to 200 years. There is definitely some good potential there, but I think the fact that he had to compress his life that much, it puts him out of the running. Just wanted to bring him up because I know people might mention him. So now that we've covered everyone, who has the best potential? So there's a few things to consider from this. Going back to what I was saying about Gohan before, Vegeta did say that Gohan has greater potential than anyone, so that's a really worthwhile statement. That puts most of those people out of the running. Definitely at least him and Goku, but also a lot of other people on Earth. At least the ones that Vegeta's fought alongside. His statement can't take into account people like Frieza or 17 because this was before he fought alongside them, and he was just talking about their allies, so it wouldn't be about Frieza. Same for other characters later on too, so that doesn't take Broly into account. In my personal opinion, I would think it's between Frieza and Gohan, and I have my reasons behind that. Let's start with Gohan. He slacked off multiple times in the story, but each time he reawakened his power, it was far greater than ever before. After Resurrection F, he did train a little bit, even doing some gravity training as explained in the manga. But in the anime, we don't know the extent of what his training was or how long he continued it for. Clearly it wasn't that great either because he rarely even used Super Saiyan 2, and even lost access to Ultimate up until the Tournament of Power. But when he did get Ultimate back, he instantly jumped far beyond where he was, becoming one of the strongest in the universe. But still, oddly enough, he even slacked off again after the Tournament of Power. At least in the manga version of the events, we saw that he trained during the Moro arc, but Superhero makes it pretty clear that he didn't do too much training after that besides practicing the Special Beam Cannon in secret. But still, despite slacking off again, he then got his Beast form. As for Broly, he did grow a lot during battle, and it was a really big jump within one big battle. But it doesn't really seem like he's made much progress since. Of course, he was on Vampa the entire time, but when he was about to fight Goku in Superhero, it was implied that they have done a little bit of training beforehand. Plus, we don't really have too much to go off with him because really it's just the movie. which was a single consecutive fight for him. Would this happen in every big battle he's in? Was this boost only a one-time thing? Is it going to be consistently like that? There's no way to know for sure, but it doesn't seem like he's made much progress since. Or maybe just didn't have the right catalyst to unlock that power again. I think there's an argument to be made that he does have the most amount of potential, but I just think it's really tough to say with how little we have to go off of. As for Frieza, he's been proven time and time again that he does have great potential. Especially with the fact that he doesn't even need to train physically. Mental training was more than enough to keep up with everybody. However, Frieza's only shown growth after training. It's not like he grew during Battle of Namek, and it's not like he really grew much during the battle in Resurrection F. Same for the Tournament of Power where everybody was breaking their limits, it didn't really seem like Frieza was doing much to break his limits. That was more so a Saiyan thing in the Tournament of Power anyways, and we've seen it with Gohan and Broly, but not really with Frieza. Plus, like I mentioned before, who knows if the gains are diminishing. With Gohan, yeah, there's a whole argument that we can make about whether the writing is good or not with him, but I think just based off what we're given, it's not too outlandish to say that he might have the most potential of anyone because he does this all without any effort. All we know for sure is that he had some light training after Resurrection F, which didn't seem like it was consistent. He had a little bit of training before the Tournament of Power with Piccolo, and we only know how it went in the manga continuity, but in the Moro arc, we saw that he had those 2 months of training. Add up all those things together, and yeah, it is a lot of time, but consider where he is now and how far he jumped. He jumped from where he was in the Buu saga to, well, Beast Gohan. Rage boosts alone are better for him than his training, it seems like. As for Frieza, whether it's mental or physical, he does need to train. For Broly, it looks like most of his experience comes from battle itself. For Gohan, at least in Super's continuity, well, it's whenever the writers want to give him a chance to shine. And I'm not hating, I'm a fan of Gohan. I like that they wank him. Jokes aside though, I think personally Gohan might have the most potential in Universe 7, but I feel like it's fair to say it's either of these three. But we don't know for sure because we're just told they all have great potential and we don't really know the true extent of it. A lot of it's kind of theoretical and hypothetical. And you probably did expect it to come down to these three, but I still think this video is a nice thing to discuss because a lot of people forget how great the potential is of all the other fighters too. Most just think that a hybrid Saiyan or someone like Frieza would be able to do this, but a lot of Universe 7 has shown the potential to grow quick. Hell, even some of the humans have shown exceptional growth, like look at Krillin for example. He also slacked off, and sure, he didn't compare to the rest of the team, but still, he was really strong for a human. And he's just one of the many examples of people in Universe 7 that grew pretty quickly. What do you think? Who do you think has the most potential? Do you agree with the top three that I outlined? Again, this is a discussion after all, so get a discussion going in the comments. I honestly feel it can go either way between those three. Maybe I am just being a Gohan fanboy though. But let me know below, just keep it civil. Anyways, thank you all for watching. Be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and thanks to my editor Trent too, who's done a few of my videos and is linked in the description. Hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you on my next video.